Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. It is Tuesday, August the 10th. We are now just 4 days away from that curtain raiser against Manchester United at Old Trafford. It's been a late one for me, and in an early morning I've been dissecting and taking in the latest Square Ball podcast, which has loads of information in for us. They had an interview with Angus Kinnear. They spoke about Bielsa transfers, loads. Absolutely loads. So we're going to dissect and go through a lot of that. Just want to say as well, the link to the podcast and the article they've written is in the description. Please check it out. It's a great listen, a great read. Okay. If you're all listening to Square Ball anyway, if you're not, I don't know what you're doing, to be fair. But before we get into today's video and all that latest news, please smash a like on this stream, subscribe, comment, notification, all that bell, because we've got loads coming this week with it being game week, of course, and a number of watch-alongs, not just Leeds games. There is a number of Premier League games we'll be doing starting on Friday. Of course, Arsenal take on Brentford. But that's enough from me. Let's get into today's video. And this is the moment when I take a stand. Okay, guys, we're going to start first of all with the Angus Kinnear interview. The podcast came out late last night from the Square Ball, and I'm just going to go through and take some of the key bits out. First one being the biggest, of course, Marcelo Bielsa's contract. Look, we know it's a done deal anyway. You know, we're not worried, and I don't think, Angus and Rads and Orta are worried either. They said they settled it on a handshake over 6 months ago, said Angus. But he said it will be done. It will be signed this week and announced to great excitement before Man United. Who can forget last season? I think it was the day before he signed ahead of Liverpool, and it looks like we're looking at much of the same. Why he does it, I'm not sure. But Angus said, look, it really is a formality. We had a handshake probably like 6 months ago. It really is just the finer details. Dan Moylan, who was posing the question, who hosts the podcast, the Phil Hay Show, I just want to say before I go further as well, big shout out to Dan Moylan as well. Like, it was a great interview, but he pushed Angus on the socios comment, which is the fan token cryptocurrency BS. He pushed him on the membership and the tickets being at £75 for the top tier membership, and you're not even guaranteed a ticket. And I just wanted to shout him out. I put a message out on Twitter as well. And I think it's class, because for me, obviously, I know he's much more experienced and been in the game and did radio, actually. He used to be on the radio in the Northeast where I live currently. But yeah, for him to do that and push him on them topics can't have been easy, because I know if I'm thinking in my own predicament, I'd be like, yo, I don't want to push this guy too much, because you don't want to mess up relationships where Angus says next time around, I ain't going on there. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes like owners, directors, they're a bit political, right, with their answers. So for them to be pushed, it could be a guess. I'm not doing that again. So I think he spoke for a lot of us, and he articulated it really well and got his point across. And I just want to shout him out for that, because it can't have been easy. And I thought it was great to hear him actually go again, and when he was given certain answers, and we'll touch on it a little bit more later on, he still went again, and it was like, nah, I'm not having that. So I just want to say props to Dan Moylan for that as well. But yeah, Dan Moylan asked the question, why has it taken so long for Bielsa to sign that contract? And he said, look, it's a lack of interest. It's more about pre-season and the transfer window. We're going to touch about the transfer window in a second as well, because what I got from the interview was, we're done. Buckle up, guys. Put your seatbelts on. I know I'll have to, from all the stuff that'll get thrown my way, because I'm always backing this club and I will always do it. But naturally, people are not happy with how the transfer window's gone, how the current situation of the squad looks. And I might have to do some more defending of that because it came across like we might be done, guys. I know that's not music to your ears, but it is what it is, right? Okay, we spent big last summer. Bielsa's happy, obviously, with the current squad. Do I think we might still get another in? Yeah, I think the wingers may be a bit of a pipe dream now, if I'm being totally honest. But yeah, look, Bielsa is set to sign a new deal. It will be announced before Saturday. He was asked about player contracts. Obviously, we know recently Tyler Roberts, etc., signed a new deal. And Angus also said there will be more new contracts set to be announced over the coming weeks. So you'd imagine Bamford will be in there and a few others possibly. And then let's talk about the transfers. Dan asked him, where are we with new transfers? Centre midfielder and a winger being the key targets. Angus straight away you know, we're delighted with the current signings, Junior Firpo signing, of course, at left back. And I think we as a fan base are happy with that as well. He said they offered, you know, Alioski an improved contract, of course. He's gone to Ali Alil, he's gone to Saudi Arabia, he's going to be set up, you know, he's tax-free, all that sort of stuff. Leeds United couldn't compete with that, you know. I think he was offered at 1.40 grand a week, whatever. I don't think he was worth that, do you know what I mean? But he mentioned that, and then obviously just said they were delighted with Junior Firpo, which again we as a fan base are, and also Christopher Klassen. And he went on to say that he was rated as highly as Meslier. I've mentioned that a few times. The fact that I like Klassen in the door is the fact that when we initially got Meslier for 5 million from Lorient, Christopher Klassen was also looked as an option at that time. You know, this wasn't just a spur in the moment thing. Christopher Klassen is obviously high regarded by the scouting system. You know, so the fact that we brought him in, yeah, good. However, then he didn't really touch on anything further about transfers at all. So I'm like, oh, where's that gone? And it went really quiet. He sort of digressed and mentioned young players brought in at the under-23s level and about finding value at that level. Because as a fan, I'm like, oh, man, I don't want to hear that stuff. Do you know what I mean? Talk to me about the transfers. Don't start moving it on to talking about valuations of young players, because he actually mentioned about Joe Willock going to Newcastle for like 25 million. He mentioned Eddie Nketiah currently being valued at about 20 million. And it makes sense of what he was saying. He said it's about getting that young talent before you have to pay top dollar, you know, like Newcastle having to pay, 25 million for a Joe Willock when you can bring it through, your academy. Arsenal continue to bring players off. And I think Leeds are trying to follow that model as well. You know, some of them highly likely won't even play for the Leeds United first team, but will go for a decent price. And I get the points he was making about that. You know, we brought in some great talented players that if they don't break through, you know, will command a decent fee. And if they do, they could still move on for huge resale value, you know. But he then was asked, look, he was pushed a little bit more from down and said, look, are we ready to pounce if indeed a situation arises? Because Angus said, look, if I'm a betting man, you know, there's going to be little movement now in the window, you know. So that was not great. I mean, he was asked specifically about O'Brien, and he said, oh, yeah, you know, he's a Huddersfield player, a bit tongue-in-cheek, but he did say there is no movement on that at the moment. We as a fan base know that we've had a bid rejected. We've tried a number of different scenarios, it would seem, in instalments to reach up to the 10 million. We've offered them cold hard cash, which doesn't quite equate to the 10 million. We've offered players plus cash in swap deals, Robbie Gotts being one of them, you know, that link between Carlos Corberan, etc., which would make sense. But he said, look, there's no movement on that at the moment. It makes you think, of Leeds United not willing to pay the 10 million. Do we have it in the coffers to pay the 10 million? Angus has come out and said, yeah, we do. And I believe we do. But it looks like we're trying to trim the purse strings a little bit for me. But when he was pushed on signings and said, were we ready to pounce? And his response was, we are ready, like we were with Rafinha. But at the moment, it would take something really special for us to go for it, you know. But I don't expect there to be any significant movement. So when we're looking at Matheus Cunha and people saying it's 25 million, what you've also got to factor into that is the fact that this guy's wages are going to be astronomical. I believe we hold, Phil Hayes confirmed the fact that we do hold Noah Lang as one of them top targets. But again, it comes down to availability and price and cost. I think a lot of us seen the 100 million that was spent last season and expected a similar sort of increase in outputs in the transfer market this window. Unfortunately, it's not worked out that way. Did I think we'd be in this situation now? No. The club, he impressed upon the fact that we have a great scouting system and Victor and that are, analysing the market. And if the right deal comes up, then of course they'll go for it, which I understand. But it's not what I want to hear. But I'm not like having a go at the club. Do you know what I mean? It's just, you expect a little bit more. I don't care. Like, I'm a massive fan of the club and I will support them in terms of the current management structure that we have is the best that I've seen. The manager is the best that I've seen. And I'm happy with that. And I know with Bielsa we'll be totally fine. But Did I think we would have more than just Junior Firpo and Christopher Classen? Yes. Do I want more than that? Yes. I even think, and I do think he's great, and he would come in and he's the archetypal, signing for Bielsa. He's Lewis O'Brien, much like I was happy with the Conor Gallagher one. But would I be happy with just that? Yeah, but it is a little bit underwhelming. It is a little bit underwhelming, especially when you see the clubs doing business around us as well. Do I think that's gonna hamper us in terms of league position in Tumbler? No. Let me categorically say that no, that's not going to happen for me. But it is a little bit underwhelming, and hearing him say that, and of course Dan mentioned that fans aren't going to get it, and Angus gets it as well. That these things, are going to happen. One thing he did say, which I found quite positive, was that we'd had inquiries for players at the top end of the squad. He has mentioned about Calvin's stock raising, Rafinha, etc. And he said, look, we have had inquiries for players at the top end of the squad, and they've all been battered away. And he said, we've even had offers for players under that top level. And these offers were in the tens of millions of pounds, and it's still not being entertained. Remember, we had Valencia looking at Costa. If that's one of the players that was offered 10 millions of pounds, get him gone. I'm assuming it's not, but what I'm saying is, they've obviously had inquiries. Is Rafinha available? Is Calvin available? They've said, nah, not a chance, get on your bike. And then there's also been players underneath that maybe, I don't know, Newcastle Roberts. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of players under that top level, which I include people like Melier, Rodrigo, Calvin, Rafinha, Llorente. I'm just thinking those underneath it, who would be worth tens of millions of pounds? Maybe it's a bit of kidology. I'm not sure. I don't see why you would lie, but they've not entertained any bids whatsoever. Dan asked him about Calvin specifically and about him on a new deal, because obviously you want parity with the level of players he played with at England, and so he should. And he said, look, we don't need to go there right now. It's a healthy deal. He's got 3 years left. Maybe we'll look at it next term when he's got 2 years left. I'm not too sure. And then just to section it all off on transfers and that, he said, look, will players be brought in? And again, I'll reiterate what he said. He said, if I was a betting man, there'll be little movement now in the window. However, it might change if something exceptional turns up. What's exceptional? Like a Rafinha. The price that we paid for that guy at 17 million is an absolute steal. The players that we've been linked with, and Angus confirmed and said that these players were on the list, the likes of Kinnear, etc. Of course they were, because they're top players. This was the point he was making. But something exceptional like a Kinnear is not going to come for the figures that it looks like we have available at this moment in time. Maybe Noah Lang could be one. I'm not sure. They still want a big price for Noah Lang. Maybe it'll change as the window goes on, as we get closer to the end of the window and clubs start to panic a little bit, like you could say Rennes did with Rafinha. But at the moment, it seems Leeds are at a bit of a standstill. Bielsa seems happy with the squad. Of course he is. He doesn't like wholesale changes. But as a fan, I'm a little bit like, meh. I am a little bit like meh, and I'm assuming a lot of you guys are that are watching this as well. But we'll have to wait and see. Look, do I think Lewis O'Brien will be done? I do. He was a little bit coy with that. He meant, yeah, he plays for Huddersfield, but you could hear that little bit of chipper, that little bit of, playfulness in his voice as he said it. You're thinking, right, okay, that's a deal that Leeds United want to do. He said there's no movement at this moment in time. Maybe there's a bit of standoff with us and Huddersfield in terms of figure, and they're waiting it out because Huddersfield might need that money a little bit closer to the end of the window. I'm not sure. But yeah, it was a little bit underwhelming. Let's move it on though. Let me know your guys' thoughts on that interview, if indeed you've had a chance to listen to it, or what I've just relayed back to you there. He mentioned the stadium. There will be changes, obviously. Look, there is loads in this article and loads in that interview. I'm not going to go do it at depth. I want you to go listen to the Square Ball, read the article. But he mentioned the stadium. For those coming in, there are going to be away dressing rooms being built in the car park behind the West Stand. So there are going to be some empty seats, and people will be moving. Them people in the West Stand haven't been made aware yet. I'm assuming they will be made aware soon, which means they will have to move around the stadium as these changes are made due to COVID restrictions when it comes to the players. There's also going to be rail standing or safe standing in the Kop. There's going to be 1,000 initially to see how that goes, and that's going to start from the Kop down, which is good. I think I'll never forget when Manchester City Fan TV or Manchester City's official channel came and filmed all Leeds TV. There was Tash and Connor in the South Stand and myself in the Kop, and they came and filmed me, and I'll never forget it, right? Obviously, someone was aware that I was being filmed, and when we scored, this guy jumped over me, and I swear to God, because of the room, and obviously the chairs in front, I literally nearly broke my leg, like genuinely, my shin smashed off the chair in front of me, and it just like buckled. And with that rail standing, the whole purpose of it is so that if there is limbs, you know, you there's no like banging into the person in front of you or whatever. It's just that rail, you know. It can be carnage. Great at times, but if you're underneath it, it does hurt a little bit. I know, I know adrenaline might get you through, but after it's like, oh, my leg's sore, you know, my leg's sore. We'll now move on to tickets as well. For those that were asking, I got a few messages actually asking me about the tickets for the Everton game. They'll actually be on sale today. 1 p.m. You'll be able to acquire a ticket for the Everton game. The tickets for our Premier League clash against Burnley at Turf Moor will also go on sale from Wednesday. The Leeds United Supporters Trust put out a tweet as well to say it was great to see that kids' ticket prices in the family stand will be frozen, making them amongst the cheapest of all clubs in the Premier League. So under 11s will be able to attend a game for just £5 and under 16s just £10, which is great. You know, there are some great things that the club are doing. A few poor things, and again, props to Dan Moylan for addressing this. The fact that the membership at the top tier are having to pay £75, and there isn't even a guarantee of a ticket and what they get. And, you know, Angus tried to say, well, not all members, you know, buy memberships for tickets. And okay then, Angus. He did mention, though, that in future we might see a balloting system when it comes to buying tickets online for away and home games, in terms of, you know, at the minute it's a nightmare, isn't it? When you try buy tickets, first come, first serve, and it's all that banging your laptop and you go on at 1 o'clock and they're sold out at 1 o'clock, you know. So there's going to be a change to that, where it might mean that I guess you'll be given a ballot and you can enter at that time to purchase a ticket, which might work. I think it will be better. He then was probed on the socio stuff about, you know, the fan engagement, the tokens, and it being cryptocurrency and all this sort of stuff. And to be fair to Angus, obviously it's difficult for him to defend it, really, for me. He went down a really angle like, oh, well, what actually happens? It is only £2, and, you know, you have the opportunity to choose what songs go on the players' playlist in the dressing room. And then when, you know, I'm told they like Mickey Bubbles, Michael Bublé. They like Michael Bublé. And I was a bit like, yo, this is cheap. Like, stop trying to spin it. Stop trying to spin it, talking about Mickey Bubbles in the dressing room and stuff. Because he went, oh, yeah, I'm told. And it could tell it was a bit like, yeah, nah, mate. Now, why are you trying to spin it? And then changing the names of the pictures at Thorp Arch to, say, the Norman Hunter pitch or whatever, which is great, which the club would have done anyway. And he also said that season ticket holders will get the chance to also have a token. Is that not a way of getting them involved in the socios? Do you know what I mean? I'm staying away from it. And like Angus said, if you don't like it, don't buy it. That's fair enough. But I would say to anyone who's looking at it, stay away from it. We're not about that life. You don't need it. But that was it. There was loads in that. Big shout out to the Square Ball and Dan Moylan for doing that interview. Like I said, the link to the podcast, which I'm sure all of you listen to, and there's a specific article done by Moscow White about the changes at Elland Road, etc. The link is in the description. Make sure you check them both out. Okay. We're now going to move it on slightly to a transfer link. Sasa Lukic from Torino. It feels pointless speaking about it now. Do you know what I mean? Because Leeds are done. But Italian media outlet Tutto Mercato Web claims that Leeds United and Spartak Moscow are interested in signing 24-year-old Serbian international midfielder Sasa Lukic from Torino. Their report claims that the Whites are expected to make contact over a possible transfer this week. Not buying it. And just to finish, we've got a few new news articles, guys. The old four, Chris Wilder, was speaking about Leeds United to Sky Sports. I don't mind Chris Wilder. I know that won't go down with a lot of Leeds fans, but he's just a normal bloke. I know he said we're all muppets, etc. But listen, we had the last laugh. We're still in the Premier League. He's out of a job. But to be fair to him, he said, I think a few teams got away with it last year, not playing at a packed-out Elland Road, because I know we've had a couple of positive results there, and I know how difficult it is to get a result and how passionate they are and the backing that they gave their players. Leeds United, even though I haven't got the best of relationships with them because I left a bit on a couple of their players, I've still got an awful lot of amount of respect for Marcelo and what he's achieved. I'm sure that place will definitely be rocking this season. And you know it is. It's going to be all that's going to be spoken about when the Sky cameras come, the Elland Road atmosphere. I know that for a fact. When we play Everton in 2 weeks' time, that place is going to go off. When we get the likes of Liverpool, City, all these teams coming, it's going to go off. But then when we play that, Manchester United, Chelsea, the vitriol, I cannot wait for that. That's what I've wanted since forever. I wasn't lucky to have tickets or season ticket when we were in the Premier League and the Champions League. I just wasn't. And we, didn't have much. Exactly. You know it. But what I'm saying is, this is all I've wanted. And we get that back. And I, for one, can't wait. And I can't wait to give it, to show them what a proper fan base and a proper ground support is like. Chris Wilder gets that. There's also changes at the Premier League, guys. They will now allow 9 substitutions to be named in each match day squad. That means more under 23s for us. But yeah, you'll still only be allowed to use 3 in normal circumstances, but you have 2 concussion substitutes available. I think it's, for me, all that does is just benefits the bigger clubs. Manchester City's bench now, he's just going to have so many. I know he can only make 3 changes, but it's a lot easier for them to have different options on the bench depending on how the game's gone. Do you know what I mean? Whereas some of the lesser clubs, I don't know. Look, the likes of Manchester City and Liverpool wanted it to stay at 5 subs even after COVID, and they didn't get the 14 votes that they needed from the rest of the league in order to push that through, thankfully. But yeah, look, from next season, 9 substitutions. Maybe it means we'll see more of the under-23s on the bench, which means they might get a chance of first-team football. Because I think I'd like to see that as a fan. And just while we're on the under-23s as well, it's come out that in The Athletic that Cody Drama is knocking on the door at the England's under-21 side. Despite not having made his Leeds United debut, of course, ahead of him, you've got the likes of Tariq Lamptey, Max Aarons, Tanganga, James Justin at Leicester, some top players. They've all been called up to play at that, in that right back position. But Lee Carsley knows Cody Drama well, and it looks like he might be ready for an England call-up, and he hasn't even had his first team run out yet. So that's a real proof of the talent that we do have in the under-23s. But yeah, that's it from today's episode, August the 10th of your Daily Leeds. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I enjoyed doing it. Was up late last night, up early this morning, dissecting and listening to the podcast. Yeah, it's a lot of work. So for all that graft, you can tell, can't you? For all that graft, smash me a like on this stream, subscribe to the channel, comment, and of course, get your notification bell smash. We'll be very busy this week on the channel. I'm just so grateful for all your support. So thank you as always for watching. I'll see you in a bit. Peace out. Leeds.